Hey guys, so as you can see behind me, I've got the table saw out today, and today's project is going to be a workbench slash shelving unit. Kind of doing this so that I can clear up some space in my garage. I'll give you a little run around of the garage after, just to show you how cluttered it's getting, and I don't like things too cluttered, so we're gonna get a workbench in here and organize some stuff up. Okay, so what we're working with is I've got just some basic 2x3s. Got 10 2x3s, and then for the surface top of the workbench, I've got a 3/4 inch. I think this is a birch, but I can't quite remember. Piece of plywood, and then I have another sheet of 1/2 inch, and the 1/2 inch will be used for the shelving unit in the workbench, whereas the 3/4 will be used for the top of the workbench. It's a little more heavy duty, so I can mount my vices and grinders and stuff onto it. So since I haven't quite designed the exact workbench yet, I just wanted to go over what I'm going to be looking to fulfill in the design process. So this is my criteria for this workbench, and I'm trying to do this on a $150 budget. So far, what I bought with between screws and wood, I'm pretty much at 150 bucks, or slightly over, and depending on if I have to buy anything else, that could fluctuate a little bit more. But if I can at least get all of these things I want under $200, that'd be great. But right now I am at about 150. So number one, I want at least 2 shelves. So I'm not counting the work area as a shelf. I either want 2 shelves above the work area, or a shelf below the work area and 1 shelf above the work area. Number 2, I need this table to at least be 8 feet long. I'm working with 4 foot by 8 foot sheets of plywood, as well as 8 foot sections of 2x3s. So I figured I would keep it 8 foot at least, just for ease of measurements and not having to waste as much wood. If I can get 10 feet, that'd be great, but 8 feet is a must-have. I need my work area to be at least 16 inches deep off of the wall. I'm working with an area that's about, gives me about 20 inches, so I'm looking to really get into the 18-inch area, so have 1.5 foot of workspace, which might seem pretty slim, but it's kind of all I have to work with, and that's why you'll see why it's fine if it's that thin in this last one here, which we can just jump to now. I want a detachable section onto this workbench, so I'm going to kind of come up with some form of way to have another sheet of plywood that I can slide on and lock in and connect to the workbench itself. So if I want more space, or I need more room to work, I can just slide a second piece on and give me that room. And then when I'm not using it, I can just either store it under the bench or behind the bench. So that's a must-have, just for the ability to have more room to work. And then this 4th one here is, it's got to be stable, it's got to be rigid, it's got to be able to withstand a lot of work, and all the hard work and banging on different jobs and stuff like that. So that's why I went with the 3/4 inch plywood for the work surface. I think the thickness I chose will work well for the areas that I'm going to be putting them in. So this is my criteria for this workbench, and I'll just get into the design area, and then I'll start making some cuts and move along the process. Okay, so this is pretty much what I came up with for the design in order to use my 3/4 inch piece of plywood in the most efficient way. I'm pretty much going to be making 1, 2, 3, 4 cuts here. I'm going to do an 18-inch deep piece by another 18-inch deep piece, and this is going to act as this is going to be the top of the workbench, and then this one's going to be the bottom shelf where I'm going to store some heavier stuff to keep the weight lower to the ground, so this way I don't risk this thing tipping, seeing as how it's not the most wide bench in the world. I'm going to have to keep that weight to the bottom, and in order to do that I'm going to need the heavier plywood on the bottom. And then I have here 3 equal cut pieces to 32 inches by 12 inches, and those are going to act as my sliders or my extension pieces off of the bench. So when I need more room to work, I'm going to connect them right here and right here. I'm going to connect 2 of these together to make a 24-inch piece. So I'm going to have a 32 by 24-inch piece coming off here and a 12 by 32-inch piece coming off of there. As far as the height of the overall bench, I'm not completely sure yet because I'm just working out what's the most efficient way to make my cuts in order to save my 2x3s for the framing of the unit. So this is what I got so far. I'm going to start making some cuts, and then we will work on the height of it once I've got some more general layout done. Okay, so I just made these cuts here. Those are going to be the cross pieces in the framing section for the tabletop, as well as some of the shelving framing cross members. So while I'm waiting to get some help, I'm running this 4x8 sheet of plywood through the table saw. I'm going to start framing out the pretty much the frame for the tabletop, as well as some of the shelving units, to the 18-inch by 8 feet or 96 inches long. So that's kind of what I'm going to work on right now. Okay, so as you can see here, I've completed one of the frames for the top boards to sit on. I pretty much just have to do this 3 to 4 more times, depending on how many shelves I want. So I'm just going to continue to do this. I won't show you guys all of the framing just because it can get tedious after a while, but I'll show you when I'm all done. Saw me rip those boards down to 18 inches. I didn't have anybody to help me, so I kind of had to use the tailgate as a guide exiting the table saw. But here's all my boards, and then I also was able to get all my framing done. So now all I have to do is put the framing, connect the framing to the legs, and then put the tops on. So I'll probably just do a time lapse of me doing all of that, and that'll kind of be the finished product. Okay, so it's been about a few days since I worked on this project. Just getting back to it. Last time I was here, I started to assemble the workbench, kind of ran out of time, so I am back at it. I am going to make a few modifications, so I'm going to actually disassemble this, make a few cuts, And then I'm just going to do a time lapse of the few cuts as well as the assembly, and then once it's completely assembled, we'll just get back with you guys and I'll kind of give you an overview and a final look at the product. So, we get to it. Okay, so just to give you a quick idea of what I did there, the cuts I made were 18-inch long pieces. That's going to be how deep the table is. The reason for this is these are going to tie my my 7-foot tall pieces together, just kind of like this. And I'm kind of using them not only to tie those two pieces together, but they're going to allow each shelf to sit on that. This way, the weight isn't just in the screws going into the frame and the 2x3s supporting the bench, but it's also going to allow for the weight to be supported on those, which are going to be a lot more secure than if I were to just drill and put some screws into the framing, connecting it to those rails. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Okay, so this is what we have for the finished product. If you don't remember what the garage looked like beforehand, I definitely recommend going back to the start of the video and checking that out. I'm pretty pleased with it. There's a few modifications I'm going to make, which I figured I'd cut the video short now because I don't know how many minutes I'm going on. So I'm definitely going to be doing a part 2 on this video of just modifications that I make to the bench, because I already have a few different things in mind. And if you look back at my criteria for this bench, there's a few pieces of that are still missing. So I'm definitely going to have to work on that, and I will update you guys on a later video for sure. But as you can see, everything's got its place. Nothing's cluttered on the floor, so I'm happy. Okay, so once again, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. If you have any suggestions for what you would have done different on this build, I would love to hear about that in the comments. I hope I inspired you guys to maybe go out and clean up your messy garage if you have one. But if not, I hope you at least learned something or saw a tip or trick that I did that maybe you can use in your life at some point in time. Thanks again for watching. I will have a lot more content coming up. More specifically, I will be working on a special build project, which I'm not going to reveal yet. I'm going to talk about that in a later video, but I will say there's going to be some good stuff coming, so please stay tuned, hit the subscribe button, and as well as the like button. That's always helpful, and hope to see you guys in another video.